Nobody can leave until we are done. Okay, everybody ready?
We're set.
Okay. Okay, well, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We're small but mighty today. Okay, so first on our agenda is to review and approve the agenda.
Yes,
And Warren seconds.
something is wrong with this system.
One thing with the procurement card purchases, always there's a printout in the board chairs folder. So if you ever want to, look at that and have any questions, you can always look at that. Any other discussion on the consent items? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Carried. Okay, on to member forum. Would you like to start, Warren?
yes, I got a whole pile of stuff here now. Goodness. First of all, I have a check for corrections that didn't get cashed from April, and I have no idea where that came from. Anyway, corrections, we had 143 yesterday for January, or that day. The high for January was 144.
Hmm.
So we're just about, yeah, well, no, that's up from reading 120 ranges there for a while
Okay.
during the real
Down
the
past
COVID
from
issue.
2 years ago.
Well, yeah, that's what I was.
Then we get up to 180 and above. Yeah. Friday we had 131. Yeah, that was 131 on Friday. The January high the numbers were 143 and 144. 22 of those were marshals, 70 from Polk, 51 per diems. Monoman had 17. They're bouncing all over the place. The income for the month was 125,000, so we're right on there. Probation, there were 37 new cases, but we closed 77, so they don't know what was going on there, but it's quite a change. In full staff in the juvenile center now, finally. So we had 11 in there on Monday, and that was including both the secure and non-secure. 8 on the non-secure. And 14 was a high for the month on that one, and there's 3 open positions in corrections. That's in the jail portion and in the administration area. Staffing is good all around. We changed the pharmaceutical services from Thrifty White in Crookston to a Diamond Pharmacy in Indiana. But that's a national thing that all over the place. They do Grand Forks County and a number of places in Minnesota. In fact, they're the state agents. Let's work with the state agency in Minnesota. That's enough on corrections. We have the West Central Regional Water District meeting coming up on Monday. Some important discussions will happen there. I won't talk about them now. I did last month. And then we had a Northwest Area Transportation Partnership meeting on Thursday. That's where they determine funding for all transportation alternatives, trail parks and that kind of thing. We had presentations from the city of Boston. They're an annual presenter. They've got an ongoing program going on there, but with trails in the city. And they were, and the city of Seaford Falls has also got a trail going on that would be to connect the west side of the city back to the high school area. they've had other trail programs there too. Polk County has one that Rich presented. He did it Zoom wise. He was in New Orleans. I believe. He was on vacation anyway, so he got a little grief over that. But that would be a line from Highway 2 to from me and Mentor, from Highway 2 to the Maple Lake area, and there's another one from the White Earth Nation. All of those we'll have some voting and such on that over the next month, and we'll be acting on that. There's $1 million to appropriate, along with $185,000 carryover from last year. So there's some money there. We'll probably end up being able to fund 3, if not all of them, based on they have some ability to do some advance funding too. So it's a pretty good program. But that's enough out of me.
Okay. Gary?
Yeah, just to follow up on corrections, we have 2 new commissioners on that board now. So we had a pretty extensive tour of the facility,
Oh yeah.
which was good. Not a lot has changed, I guess, since Warren and I went through, but one thing that I did notice is how it's changed now when our clients or individuals there have a court appear. It's almost all video. They've got a room that they come down to, the lawyer meets them there, and then and that saves a lot of movement of moving the individual
Mm-hmm.
in handcuffs and so on and so forth, all the way up there and back. So that has, I think, a good move. And it was also good to see the juvenile numbers up because that had been low. Interestingly enough, and maybe not surprisingly, is that some of them were from Blue Earth County, Becker County, Otter Tail, and Nobles, because there is such a shortage of rooms. So, depending on how that goes, that may continue to be filled. And obviously, it's taking care of a need outside Polk County, too. Also, Joey Peterson, jail administrator, did a very good update on that. And I thought that was important to kind of find out how that they've been kind of solving the staffing, getting people to stay longer through rather than the
Mm-hmm.
3 months and gone and that type of thing. So they put a lot of efforts into that. We had public health and fertile last week. That our first meeting of the year, so those primarily housekeeping type things. Joan was elected chair. I was elected vice chair. And then we ended up picking who was going to be the bank and all those types of things again. But otherwise, nothing newsome. Tri-Valley last Tuesday, and I guess maybe their main concern was the federal funding. $23 million of our 25 budget is federal funding. So a little concerned to see what's going to happen with that, and we'll probably know within the next our next meeting as to what kind of changes there might be. And then today it sounds like Finance Committee at 11:30 and Personnel at 3. Still on?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's all I've got.
Okay. So I just had a couple things. I had SHAC Member Development Work Group, which I chair. We set our dates for the upcoming year, and then we spent some time looking at our mentorship program and what that should look like, and what our new members of SHAC are looking for when they join, as far as how things work and within SHAC, and what the responsibilities are. And then let's see, then I had a shack, uh, full shack meeting. I did that virtually, and I was reelected as our Northwest representative for shack. And, we spent some time looking at um, what's going on at the legislature. And I mean, like, I think with everything that, things are just kind of up in the air right now. And, hopefully, like when we're down there next week for our legislative conference, that we can maybe um, learn a few new things. And then I also virtually joined our Sandhill River watershed one plan, and we spent when we looked over what our funding projects have been for 2024, projects completed, looking at what we have coming up in 25, what that funding is and how it'll be spent. And we also set a couple dates for meetings for this year, but spent a fair amount of time looking at with the zebra mussels on Union Lake and the pumping there. That's usually done in the spring to avoid flooding on the lake. And because of now finding the zebra mussels on there, usually when we would be pumping is that's when the fingerlings are present, and the screen that's on the pump currently, the holes are too large so the fingerlings can swim through and then into downstream bodies of water. So actually, the Sandhill Watershed District has been issued a cease and desist order for the pumping by the DNR. And so there's just really a question of, what it looks like going forward, because even if they change the screen, the pump itself is not equipped to handle that size screen. So they're looking at between a $500,000 and $600,000 investment.
How much?
Between $500,000 and $600,000 for a pump and screen.
That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So, just trying to look at ways of being creative, and, looking at if some of the funding for the One Watershed One plan can be used for that. But like where Bowser, and the state controls the funding, and they set kind of the guidelines of what you can use the funding for. And aquatic invasive species like zebra mussels are not part of, not something that you can use funding for. So, kind of, we're just, trying to figure out, if there's a workaround way. And then also, like where Union Lake had the issues with the carp last summer. And I mean, they spent a lot of money on labor and disposal. And, that's a continuing thing. So we're looking at possibly changing our work plan. So then there could be some reimbursement funds for the removal of carp going forward too. So, just, like I said, we spent a lot of time looking at, um, you know, things that we can do that have become issues now compared to when we first set up our work plan. And then I also had a phone call in regards to tracking beavers. They were just wondering like who's responsible for, it was on Poplar River, and was able to get their questions answered and to hopefully get the beavers under control.
That used to be Michelle Cody. I'm just wondering how she got involved with that. I just remembered her name with that traffic, so she must have had some connection.
Well, yeah, and it depends on, who has the jurisdiction over the water system. I mean, it could be, it could be a watershed ditch, it could be a county, it could be the, you know, so,
Okay.
but yeah, so he was, we were able to get it figured out, and I think that um hopefully the beavers will be um gotten under control here shortly. So, and I will be heading down to the cities tomorrow. I've got meetings Thursday and Friday, futures at AMC, and then I also have DHS Performance Console on Friday at MCIT. So,
Then back the next following week for
yes, then,
legislative.
yep, then back again on Tuesday for legislative conference and AMC Board of Directors. So,
I'm glad it's you, not me.
well, I'm
Busy 2 weeks.
well, yeah, it's been a busy few weeks. So, but yeah. Okay, on to Sheriff Tadman.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
I have the January Sheriff's Monthly Report for you. And this is our documented services for January 2025. And we've had the paid services of $4,620.85, and then our no charge service of $1,746.28. Going on to our transports. Even though January is another busy month, but our year ending, we had a total of 5,590, 89.3 miles for the month of January. And our medical was 2. Our mental health, we had 547. Then our in-state prisons and other counties, we had a total of 2,779. And then out of state, 673. And then our federals, we ended up having 1,588 on that, with a total of 134.25 hours with that. So, and that just runs out the year ending that we ended up having. Got that down here. So moving on, for our calls category out of our dispatch center, we ended up having a total of I didn't even get those on there. They're not even calculated on this sheet. I apologize for that. It just shows the rate on there. So I'll have to go back and find out what happened on that. Calls by services coming into our facility. So on to our reports for the month. We had a total of 744 calls for service, and just kind of going through the assist agencies was 23. Civil process, we had 215, with our child protection reports 13. Emotional distress 10, and then our info tip lines we received 10. Motor vehicle property damage crashes, we had a total of 16, and our motorist assist 33. And then our public assist for the month high is 31. Our school patrol is 94. And then down below is our traffic complaints with our traffic control and hazards. We had a total of 13 with those. And then with traffic stops, we had a total of 128. And that would sum it up. And then that's where our totals were of 744. for the month of January. Then I just sent along, if you wanted to review it, and we can go over it if you would like, is our year-end totals of 2024. I had them put together and kind of same what you get each month. I put all the totals together. So would you like to go through that, or
Any big
just
surprises?
Huh?
Any surprises that you kind of
Our
focused on?
the biggest surprises for the January 24 was our transport. We were up on regular transports of 18,000 miles, and then we were up 7,800 on just our federals. So last year we had 5,603 in federal transports. This year we had 13,433. So as the same as 2023, we had 65,493 of regular transports. This year we had 83,744. So other than that, looking at it, really happy with the burglaries. Our careless and reckless driving seemed to have spiked. And other than that, most of it looks we're right around that average of taking calls, of doing that and assists. So all in all, really happy with it. So but that's all I have for the January monthly reports. Any questions, concerns?
You selected a new sergeant yet?
No,
Okay.
nothing. Just did the interviews.
We're getting close.
You bet.
How many candidates?
Got 4.
All
Okay.
in-house.
Oh yes, all in house. Yep, they're in house. So
It's good.
yeah. Process going. Okay.
I think one number that, just kind of stands out to me, like, is the animal complaint. Like for 24 it was 156.
It'd
I
be
mean-
total be 175 animal complaints.
Mhm.
If you add the bites and the lost and found, those are
Mhm.
still complaints. So they're just put in catted different.
Right.
Yeah. Those are deer, horses, every animal out there that cause either something to do with traffic or dogs, cats that are lost. So
So that includes like deer hits then?
yes, that's
Okay.
if we get not the crash, but if we get a deceased deer on the road that has to be moved, or else a deer that's been hit and needs to be dispatched, that would be put in there
Okay.
as
Okay.
animals.
Okay.
So that's everything that's running up
Yeah,
there.
because
It's not just dogs.
yeah, or cattle.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too.
Mhm. Sure.
Okay, Mark.
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
morning.
Don't have much for you here. Just wanted to make sure we got the County Board of Appeal date set before we send out valuation notices. Third Tuesday in June has generally been what we've done, and I'm not sure if it's already kind of
Mhm.
your
The 17th, I think it's
Mhm.
on our schedule.
Mhm.
6 o'clock in the evening.
Yep, that's kind
What
of the
I've
traditional
got.
time.
Will you be sending out the links for us to do the training?
Well, it's too late to do the training for this year. We do have enough. I think Mark is trained. Warren, did you retrain? So, and then Sam is trained as well. So we do have 3 for sure that have got training, and then it reopens again in July.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I would move to approve the date and time.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, so then we're setting it for 6 o'clock on Tuesday, June 17th. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Right.
Opposed? Carried.
And that's in this
Yep.
building.
Unless you guys
Unless
want
we
to
have
change
a, right in this room, unless we have a water damage or heating problem or whatever. Probably not in June though, hopefully. Nope, sounds good.
That's all I got for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Oh. Okay, if they have any questions, they can get ahold of me. Okay, thanks.
I'll leave by the. I'll leave by the. Yeah.
She's ready.
Yeah.
Good morning.
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 Seems we've been seeing you a lot lately.
Oh, it's been every other week, right? So,
Well, that's good.
but that's all right. So, oh, what do I got today? So I have the
No Splunk, right?
not Splunk.
Okay.
So this is the annual Microsoft renewal. So this is everything from our Microsoft 365 suite, all the way to all our Windows Server software, SQL, all that. It's a lot of it's the core infrastructure that the county is running on, and this is the final year in a 3-year contract. All this, of course, is budgeted, and we prepared for it. So, action requested. Looking for a motion to approve the annual Microsoft licensing in total of $191,727.96.
That a good number?
Oh, it's state contract number. So
I gotta get better.
we got to go back to the table this summer, see if we can do any better again. So
We usually do a 3-year contract with that, or
that one's been a 3-year. Yep. So
I
okay.
move to approve.
I'll second.
Warren and Gary. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I'm either gonna have to come and see you or you can take care of it right now, but I'm having problems updating my password.
come on over. Come on over. So we'll get you going. So
All right. We do have some time right now if you want to do it.
yeah, if you guys got a break,
Well, we do. We don't have our next guy here yet.
okay. She's online.
She's
Oh,
online.
She's waiting for us.
Oh, all right. Then I'll have to come and see you.
Okay.
Oh, it's already open.
Is it?
Yeah, I just gotta get around.
This was probably last 2 weeks ago.
Annette, can you hear us? We're gonna bring you on now. Oh, that's loud. 1 sec. I'm gonna turn you down a little bit. Speak one more time.
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Good to go.
Is that how you want this?
No, that is not what I want you to show.
Let Annette know that we're ready for her to.
Annette, we're going to turn it over to you. We're ready to go.
Good morning.
Yep, I'm here.
I'm going to pause here for a second and just see if there's any questions or anything so far.
No, it looks like good progress.
We're slowly getting there, but there's just been a lot of good conversation internally just about how the process should go. So I think that's a really good start, just to having a better handle on the ditch systems and just making sure that we have everyone, in the same room, to hopefully be able to answer those questions and to really forecast out. So the next part of this process is, if the board approves the assessments, then that is where Anna Lee will get to work and get these in the system to be collected with next year, with 2025 taxes. So if there's any other questions or anything, I'd be happy to try and answer them. Otherwise, I know Sam and or Anna Lee are there as well.
So the action that we need, Annette, is a
Sorry, Chuck, I think you cut out there for a second.
the action that we need is a motion, second, and an affirmative vote here.
I would so move.
Correct.
Okay, Gary makes the motion,
Second,
seconded by Warren. Any other discussion? So now this should bring, so will they all be positive balances now going forward, or will there still be some negatives?
There'll still be some negatives because there's some that are higher dollar amounts
Mhm.
in the red that if we were to try to bring them up to zero, the assessment would be quite excessive,
Mm-hmm,
a dollar amount per acre.
right.
Working with Annette and Annalee, we stayed at or below $5 per acre as the max.
Mm-hmm,
Um, but yeah, there were a couple still that had, I think it was 100 and some thousand, that we've been working on. What is it, 55 or 50?
yeah, 55
So
is,
that one's been there for a while that we keep chipping away annually.
mm-hmm,
Um, but yeah, most of them we have for this year, just trying to get them out of the ones that were in the red that maintenance has been done back to closer to even.
okay, yeah. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Annette.
Thank you guys. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
You want to break until John comes?
Yeah, we'll break until John gets here.
I'll hand these out. Except for Chuck there, he's back. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, a little busy agenda today. So first item up is the landfill phase 15 pay request. They wanted to do another pay request. I brought this up last time, is before the board.
Oh, yeah.
We're withholding pretty decent size amount of money for basically, just ensuring that the seeding comes back or emerges next spring or the spring. And they asked if we would reconsider. Normally we hadn't been, but we did get after I was up and we did everything but the withholding, then the state came through and issued their approval of the construction. So there really wasn't anything expected that would come up with the construction of the landfill. So had I known that was going to happen at the time, I would have brought something like this up. So basically what we did is had the consultant come up with what the dollar figure would be on the seeding. The value of that's $8,804.48. We rounded that up by 150% and then rounded the dollar figure. So what we're recommending is we withhold $13,207, which would be more than enough money to do all of the seeding again. Most likely, if we had a problem, it would be a small area. It isn't going to be the entire site. And so in that, then we'd be releasing $92,944.42. And so I broke that into two motions. One would be a change the withholding to the 1.5 times the outstanding liability of the seeding. So we would withhold $13,207, and then we would pay what's pay request number 3, the amount of $92,944.42. And I just put in the addenda there, this is what the engineer recommended for the values. So this would be the two items then on the contract.
Okay, so first we need a motion to reduce the retainage to 13,207.
I'll move.
Warren,
I'll second.
seconded by Gary. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, and then the second motion is to approve the payment to Zavarol, the $92,944.42.
So moved.
Gary,
Second.
seconded by Warren. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, thank you. Moving right along, scroll through all these pages here. The next one would be approval of the proposal for elemental air for the 2025 stack test and RADA that we have to do on the air pollution control equipment at the incinerator in Foston. We have to do this every 3 years. The 2 years in between, we just do the RADAS, the relative accuracy and testing audit. That's basically just testing our equipment against their calibrated equipment to make sure we're within tolerances. That basically all of our ongoing measurements of the emissions are accurate. But then that every 3rd year, we'd have to do that compliance test. We have to pass that, so we're good for another 3 years. If we don't, we have to go back and make whatever adjustments, and we're testing for 3 straight years to make sure we're in compliance before you can go to that every 3rd year again. So it's the same group. He's changed company names a few times over the years, but it's the same group we've been using since, as far as I can, it predates me by quite a bit. So Brian Durkop is the individual's name. So they gave me a proposal for $49,220 for doing that this year. And that is in line with a few $1,000s what we've been paying
Okay,
previously, so.
okay. Okay, so we need a motion.
So move.
Okay, Warren
Second.
and Gary. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay. Moving on, the next one would be the integration contract for one of the two MPCA grants we received last year. So this would be the company that would come up, they would do the modifications to our system, they would install all of the new equipments, they would modify any of our existing stuff, then they would provide the additional smaller items, conveyors, chutes, supports, transitions, that sort of stuff. So this is the same company we used for the project out there in 2017 through 2018. Same contract, same group, and it'll actually be the same individuals. We had a really good experience with them when they were out there before. The guy that actually does the supervision and handles the install and modifications will be the same guy we had before. He was excellent. Same thing with the guy that does the programming and tying everything together. He's top notch. They gave us, if you recall, we had to apply for the grants at different times because when they put the RFPs out. So the first project was just, the title of it here is the Enhanced Recycling Glass Project Grant. And so that was basically to install a bag opener. Right now, a lot of the materials in the waste stream that we don't pull out are still stuck in a garbage bag. The garbage bag's got 2 or 3 rips in it, but garbage bags are designed not to rip when they puncture. So we're losing a sizable amount of material that way. This machine is specially designed. It actually gives resistance, so when it cuts it turns the bag inside out and liberates everything. This is what we wanted originally, and it wasn't available in the US at the time. Just to salt in the wound, they actually came up with a demo model of this that they brought out to our system right as we commissioned the unit. So it's actually one of the companies we worked with that got the rights to sell it in the US. It used to be called Comtech. Now they've rebranded themselves to Viably as the parent company that holds that now. So just like we did, and I'll explain some of the things coming up after this, but just like we did when we did the big project, Polk County purchased the big pieces of equipment direct, then we don't pay the tax on it. And if we had them do it, they're willing to do it, but then they charge us not just the tax in there, but also they're fronting the money.
Right.
So then they charge us a handling fee for that. So we save a pretty sizable amount of money if we purchase those big things direct. The smaller things they have to do, there's no getting around it. So that's part of their proposal.
Okay.
So we did the first project was a standalone. That was the bag opener and we call a fine screen. And then we applied for the organics one. That's got the robots in it for pulling out the organics bags that we would go to. That'll be the next one coming up. That'll be the second contract. The trick is, in the second grant, the organics, it anticipated both that we wouldn't have the other project because we didn't know when we applied for the second one if we were awarded the first one. But we had to apply for it in terms of if we did get it, we'd have to pay to move it. So when you find out later that you got both grants, you're not going to install something somewhere and then relocate it later, but it changes the design up. So we got a proposal from them for the whole thing to make sure we were within budget. And then we had to go back and break this thing out because they require us to handle the money as 2 completely different things. So that's why you see the $4.99 is their dollar figure for their integration service. That's for them to install it, supervise their people, hire the electrician. I believe they're going to hire Al's out of Langby. That's who they hired before, who worked really well with them. And then that's for them to modify all the equipment and supply the little conveyors and chutes and things like that are needed. So that's where they're at, and that takes into account the equipment we have to buy to keep within budget.
Okay.
So that's what that's what that. I have the contract in there. Then this exact same contract we used before, just punched up. The dollar figure obviously has changed, and then they changed the insurance on it because neither project is $1 million. So there was no point in having a $20 million
Right.
insurance on it. So they dropped it to $1 million on everything in there, which I didn't have any issue with. The only other thing we had to change is any arbitration mediation would go to St. Paul, to Minnesota instead of they have theirs set in San Francisco, California. The state wouldn't accept that, so I don't think. Well, maybe they would. Maybe they'd like to go to San Francisco to dispute an issue. Hopefully, we don't have any issues. We didn't have any issues last time, and
Right.
this is a relatively straightforward one.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, so Warren has made the motion.
Was that motion on the screen?
The 499,000.
Second.
Seconded by Gary. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
You had that entire discussion while I'm still scrolling through the papers. So then if you want to sign that one, that's one of those I gave you.
Yep.
The next one is the bag opener. So this is the old one here on here, but I handed out the updated one to everyone here. I believe Ashley's put that online now, changed the board packet, but not the one you have open, obviously. So again, this is for that bag opener by Viably. And the price had changed down a little bit. In the original one, it said mechanical install not to exceed 36,000. They firmed that number up the other day. It's 21,000. So you save $15,000 since I put the packet together Thursday night.
Okay.
We didn't really save it. It's just now it's in the
Right.
proposal.
Because otherwise it was like estimated that 496,000 then, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so
So moved.
okay, Gary
Second.
and Warren. So now this contract is $481,627. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the next one here is the fine screen. That's the back half. That's to process the fines. That's the 2-inch fraction that comes out of the waste and recyclables. And the recyclables, it's almost entirely glass. In the garbage, it's bottle caps, it's small organics. We also see a lot of, even in the recyclables, we see a lot of really small plastic, really thin aluminum cans, the energy drink cans. Little V8 cans, they're small enough they'll fit through those gaps. They come out in the fines. So what this fine screen will do is it'll have 2 decks on it. One is at 1 3/4 inches. And so anything over 1 3/4 inches, we're going to blow back into the container line. So we capture that flat aluminum. We capture those, Keurig cups and those small little things like that. So we can recycle those. And that'll decrease how much we have in fines. The fines right now go out to the landfill. We use this daily cover. We're also going to put in another screen that's 3/8 inch minus. And so that's going to allow the grit and dirt and real small pieces of glass that the glass markets really don't want, because that comes out in their system as residual. We'll take those off. Those will continue to go out to the landfill. And then that middle fraction is the kind of the sweet spot where the glass markets like to see it. So you're adding value to the material. Right now, we haven't been able to do anything. We've been working with a company called SMI out of St. Paul, trying to get them to take our glass. They've been up, they've looked at it. They even told us they could take the recycled glass as is. But with the contamination in there, the value drops. And then with the transportation cost, we would be spending a lot of money to ship loads every other day down to St. Paul. So 2 things have happened since then. If we have this grant, if we can clean that up, get the big stuff out, we can recycle ourselves. that's some of the contamination they would have to get out. And if
Mhm.
we remove that real fine, small fraction of that, that's stuff they would have to get rid of. They'll pay to get rid of that down there. That won't be in there either. So we can give them that mostly glass material, increases the value. Hopefully that makes the economics work,
Mhm.
where we can then market it as glass.
Right.
If it doesn't, you have that EPR law, the Extended Producer Responsibility Law, that
Yep.
kicks in 2029, where
Mhm.
they would be paying the cost of it.
Right.
And then we know the economics will work then. As long as there's market,
Mhm.
they would be paying 90% of the cost to get it down to market. So these things fit real well with that law change, as
Mhm.
long as it doesn't get repealed. I have mixed feelings about too, but for
Yeah,
different
I
reasons.
think everything's up in the air.
So what this is basically it's a rubber deck screen on there, so it causes material to bounce on this rubber deck that has holes in it. The
Mhm.
nice thing about that, most of the screens are metal and they just vibrate, and they plug up, especially with the fines off of garbage. They're sticky and wet, and pretty soon the holes shrink up. Not very effective. This one's constantly pulling and snapping that plastic deck, that rubberized deck. So it should clean the holes, or at least keep them open much more efficient longer. So um, that's the only thing in the quote that they're still checking on, is whether that, because we changed the hole size, if that's going to change the price on those screens at all. If it does, I'll have to be back up here as a adjustment on that. But right now they don't have any numbers on it, so we went with what we have.
Mhm.
And I should say part of the reason for this is you have tariffs coming on metal, you have tariffs coming for things imported from other countries, and all these big pieces of equipment are outside the US.
Mhm.
So trying to get these things nailed down quickly. They have long lead times. We're looking at installing this. Right now they're looking at August and September to do this. The bag opener and the robots have lead times. They'll take us out, if approved today, will take us out until August to receive them. So that's part of the reason we're rushing this. We're getting all these numbers as of Thursday night, so I could give them to Ashley
Mhm.
Friday morning for board
Mhm.
packet.
So, I mean, these numbers then are, that's it. I mean, like if,
Well, this one, Spalleck could come back. They gave me an updated one. That's
yep,
in
I
the
see,
handouts I
yep,
gave you.
it's higher.
So if the screen price does change because there's more, when it's a smaller hole,
Mhm.
there's probably going to be more of that rubber in it.
Mhm.
So it could change the cost $1,000 or something like that.
Okay.
If it does, I'll come back up and we'll modify it, but we'll just handle it as a change order.
Yeah.
The big thing would be to get the big machine in construction and get the price locked down before the metal price goes up. I have no idea where they get the metal on this, if it's from China.
Mhm.
My understanding is there's going to be a tariff on all of it. It's not metal, or not American metal.
Mhm.
So
Okay. Okay, so now this, the current number that you have now is 128,680.
correct.
So,
If you look, the quote before is from April of last year.
hmm,
That's
okay,
the price increase from waiting.
yeah. Okay, so looking for a motion for the fine screen.
I'll move. Gary's thinking.
Second.
Okay, Warren and Gary, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried.
I'd say that'd be a pretty good bet when you have the motion being made, who's going to second it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just, they just
Joan can
take
second.
turns. Well, you guys
Yeah,
are doing,
Joan, if you want to turn.
you guys are doing really well here. I haven't had to, um,
Well, we're
beg.
not lollygagging. It's right
That's
now.
right.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting there.
Okay. So the next one is the other contract for Titus Murph Services to do the integration. This one's the bigger project. It's $996,000 is what that works out to for that project. That's where most of the modification is being paid for out of. Again, that grant was $1.5 million. We were required to put in a match. We had to go a little bit above that, so we're at 372. That's
Mhm.
part of the monies we rate bonded for locally last fall. So all the money is in place for the project.
Right, and that's with all of these, that.
Yep.
Okay, so now we need a motion on this contract.
So moved.
Gary
And second,
and Warren. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, it's gonna take me a second to scroll through. I'm getting there. And then you have that one in front of you for signature then too.
Mhm.
The next one is the purchase of the robots under that organics grant. And so those are out of Quebec, Canada. It would be a vision system, that's their artificial intelligence system control panels, and then 2 robots. I think in this they actually have it diagrammed out. The boxes, the yellow boxes don't exist. That's the radius that they pick out of across that belt. So material Titus will break that belt here. Right now that belt extends out to here. They'll cut that out, and they're taking this is our cardboard screen right now. It's turned 180 degrees right now. It sits right here. So they'll cut that belt. They'll take that. They'll move it down in front of the trommel. They'll turn it 190 degrees. They'll drop this off of here after the robots. They install 2 robotic arms here. This is the vision system that identifies objects on the belt, telling the robots to pick out. This control panel. They'll fall off here. They'll run underneath. They'll drop into that bag opener because we can't open. Under the original grant, the bag opener would have been where the metering drum is at the beginning. If you ran organics bags, you'd rip the bags open up there. So if we installed that bag opener. So now the bag opener will be installed here instead of where the metering drum is.
Okay.
So drop down here, run underneath there, drop in the bag opener. They'll drop the liberated contents of the bags on this belt. They'll run back up here. When we run recyclables, they'll go through the OCC screen. When it won't, it'll reverse and drop onto this belt. They'll take it to the trommel. So, they're taking these big supports out, relocating those. You got cranes in there moving that stuff around. So they're figuring it'll be about 10-week, 11-week project total. But they're looking to work evenings, overnights, weekends, so that we can run most of the time through that period. If you remember, we did the other project, we did the front half first in the new building, ran on the old equipment. Then when that was in place, they put in a couple of temporary conveyors. We bypassed all that back equipment while they tore it out, put the whole back in. And then we were down for, I think, 3 days or 4 days while they tied them together, and they did over a weekend. I think we missed 2 days of running during that entire project. That's pretty much what they're looking at doing here. So they're very creative that way. We have a lot of ability to do things, and the fact that we actually, just the waste energy facilities are, we can do things you couldn't do if you were a standard recycling facility. If this was a big facility down in the Twin Cities, they'd be down most of that time. There wouldn't be a way of operating while you work on something. So that's how it works. But it's the 2 robots. These robots are what they use in the automotive industry. They're able to lift 45 pounds. Our bags won't be nearly that heavy. They're doing a system, well, they have a system similar to this in operation down in Ramsey in Washington County right now. And they used a different vendor, and they've had, from what I've seen and heard, they've had a lot of issues with the robots. They're not robust enough to stand up to the abuse they take. So.
And then this is a different supplier than our other robots came from, right?
Correct. This is waste robotics. The other ones, our other robots don't even have the robot in there. So just an air jet.
Yeah.
So it's the exact same system, but then it doesn't have the mechanical grab that these do. There's one there's one design feature. We left a space here for manual sorters so we can quality control this. If the robots are as efficient as we hope they are, you would have the option of not having people here and just buying another arm and incorporating it right in here. We don't have to do anything here other than change the programming. And so you could go to a complete automated system there. The cost for that right now in their proposal is listed at $110,000 to put the, basically less than 2 years worth of what we'd pay a person to stand there and do it. So, and then these robots can do other things. So, you know, they'll only be running on the garbage line with the organics program. We can also program to pick out wet cardboard that goes by because we can compost that. We don't pull it out for recycling. It's already gone by the pickers that would picked it out anyway. So that's another material we can pick on the garbage run. On recycle runs, we can actually have it, we could train it to pick bags of shredded paper. If we want to, we don't like that in the system because it comes out in the fines. It doesn't get back to the paper. So we could do that because it's ahead of the bag opener. You'd be able to do that. They have other programs out there, and we'll see what happens with this EPR law. If they put in one, there's a program out there that's run in a few states called the Orange Bag Program, and they put all the miscellaneous odds and ends that aren't in your standard stuff. They'll put that in orange bags. You can have the robots pick out the orange bags and drop them down. You send that to a secondary processor that handles plastic film, you know, like your grocery store bags. Some of the other specialty things, you know, toothpaste tubes and, you know, the yogurt pouches and that sort of stuff, that drink pouches. So there's other applications for this too. So it's got some future benefits. So all you have to do is a few $1,000s to get someone to come in and reprogram it. You know, a lot of these things are online, so they don't necessarily even have to be on site to make those changes. So that's what the
Okay, so that is in the amount of 550,000, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so looking for a motion. It's your turn.
Is it mine?
Yeah, it's your turn.
I'm up.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried.
So this is kind of what these things look like when they go into that vision system, that hood. This is what it's seen on the belt. They can see different things on there. So this is what would look like 3-dimensional. You know, the lighter it is, the higher it is off the belt, so it can actually see how far down they have to go. You know, then this is your colors illuminating the things, and certain colors tell it what sort of material it's made out of. And this is just doing shape and color recognition. So you have all sorts of different things. This is trying to tell it where to grab onto things. So
How fast does this work? What's the belt speed?
the belt speed is variable, and it times to the belt. So it detects how fast the belt's going by. So if you see, sometimes when the garbage is thin, you can run it faster. If it's wet or sticky, you know, whatever it is, you have to slow it down. So this will automatically calibrate to that. But in terms of how many picks, you can get 50 picks a minute with the 2 robot arms. So 25 a unit that can successfully pick. Now, nothing that Ramsey and Washington have a lot more than we do. And they're not seeing those sorts of numbers. So that's why I said you can have it picking other things instead of just sitting there waiting for the next bag to go by. A piece of cardboard goes by that's wet, it can pick it. You're not going to miss anything. You just prioritize it. If the 2 things are going by, a bag and a piece of cardboard, it sees them both, they'll choose the bag because you told it bags first.
Right.
No bags and get the cardboard.
You have to program this?
Do we have to?
Yes. Who programs?
They do. That's part of the proposals. They come out on site, They calibrate everything. It's a learning system. So, if something goes by you want to pick, you grab it, you stick it back underneath there, and you tell it, it identifies it, you tell it to pick it. You throw it back upstream, it goes through, and they'll pick it. So that's how they learn. Our other one is actually tied to a neural net, I guess is how you call it. So it's learning from other applications around the world.
Mhm.
So if you had a picking Coke cans, we don't. But if you did, and they change their emblem, and it shows up somewhere in New York where they have our system, as soon as they teach it to hit that, it's doing it for us too. So that's how they get these huge databases of things. Now with this, it's specific to us. The robots, it's going to pick just what we tell it to pick. So there's no learning algorithm tied to anyone else because they're using it for a completely different purpose. Right. But I know they're running this in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the recycling plant down there. And Brian from Beltrami County, Josh and I drove down there last summer to watch it. And that was interesting because they were actually having to pick certain bags, but then they wanted to also see inside the bag to understand if it was shredded paper. And so that's where it was getting confused, is if you got the light shining on the bag right, it thought it was a different color bag because it was trying to see into it. The easier way would have just been tell everyone to put your shredded paper in a different colored bag, and then it would go after that colored bag. But trying to get to look through the transparent bag was causing some issues, but it was doing it.
Yeah,
so it's amazing what they can do
definitely
with this stuff.
What happens to the bag itself, the material? No, does that get?
For what purpose? You're talking the organics that we're talking about?
Plastic bag.
Yeah.
I mean, what happens to the plastic bag?
So if you're talking about how we're going to use it, the bags it's going to pick out, they're going to be special design bags. They're compostable. They'll compost in our system. But then we're working with Ramsey and Washington County. We're trying to settle on a bag that their equipment is really good at identifying, so you don't get false positives that we would supply there. Part of that's getting the color bag, and if you can get printing on it, it can also detect the logos on things. So that's right now they have a consultant down in cities going to different bag manufacturers trying to come up with a spec that they can hit. So we're using them as much as they're going to use us on the education side. On the bag side, they've already gone ahead and done this. So we're avoiding some of the mistakes that they had to deal with already. But we're probably going to be on the other side of it because we're going with a vendor, and I don't know if they'll end up switching vendors or not. They're right. I think they're getting down to having to make that decision with their vendor. So I think their vendor's more responsive now, but I don't know if they can overcome that their robots aren't as robust.
So you're working with Tricia then, or?
And Tricia's not. It's Annalie Garlitz and Sam Hall are the two down there. They're doing it. Sam oversees that plant. So that's who we're working with. They have Foth as the consultant that is trying to do the bag specs now.
Okay.
They have a bag that works. The problem is it's a light green bag, so it looks like a lot of the ones you get at the grocery store for produce. And so at least their AI system has a hard time telling the difference between them. So it's picking other colored bags. So that's why the intent is you try and find a bag that's not readily available. And then you can drop your confidence interval that detects it. It's most likely going to be that bag, even if it's partially obscured. So again, just going into the planning of it a little bit. But it's hard to get someone that comes up with a different color bag.
Right.
Because I'm sure it's going to cost more.
Of course. Okay. Anything else?
Do you have anything for me?
I am on the AMC solid waste work group.
Okay.
I will probably be, looking at you for some guidance.
Okay. Okay. It's official now. I'm on the EPR advisory board.
Okay.
So kind of not so subtly hinted that when I was here
Mhm,
before,
mhm.
but we were told not to make any big public declarations. But there's 18 of us on that. Steve Richoda down at Polk Douglas County is also on it. So we got two facilities that have material recovery facilities that they're in the process of building what we have.
Mhm.
So they have two different people with that same perspective, and they have one of these organic compost facilities like we do.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I actually drove by their facility on Sunday.
okay, yeah, they're putting in that bag opener. They get the luxury of it's available to them, so they'll have the same one we do.
Mhm.
It'd be a race to see who is actually is in operation first. I'm betting ours will. Other than that, it's report season, so a whole lot of annual reports going on. We have our issue with the MPCA. A lot of people have that right now, so or a lot of places have that right now.
Mhm, mhm.
So we'll see where that takes us.
Okay. Well, just keep
That's all
on
I have.
doing what you're doing.
That's all the time we have for.
Okay,
Okay, thanks a lot, John.
great, thank you.
Yep. If we have